Studied again, came back, and I passed the bar exam. I went back to Congo and worked. I returned to America in 2019, so December 2019. I went to Georgia to kind of get some things together with my bar license, came back here in March, and then the world shut down. So I found myself with a very expensive degree, very old, and very unemployed. So I was trying to figure out kind of how to measure up my life. And what ended up happening is the last administration kind of, I would say, weaponized COVID and used that against immigration. So effectively, America found itself in a space where immigration was actually shut down. Nobody could come in to America. And what I was seeing happen a lot was the news was portraying a lot of these executive orders the wrong way. The White House was describing a lot of these executive orders the wrong way. So it started with just getting online and clarifying things, because if I was able to be here and study here, it's because my mother went through the immigration process. So I started kind of clarifying things on Facebook. I made maybe 1 or 2 videos. And then that developed into one person asking me for help on an application, and then another, and then another. And I think within like the first 2 weeks of my publicly speaking about immigration, somebody asked me to represent them at a bond hearing. After that, it kind of, because the stamina kind of started growing, I had to protect myself, so I established a firm, thinking that it was going to be like a real quick thing. Within the first year, I think I was sitting at like 80-something clients. How it happened, I have no idea. I have no experience in immigration, but the reason why I love things like this is exactly because of what Christian said. The moment I decided to open a firm, I got a random phone call from somebody I've known since I was young that connected me to another attorney that was just looking for attorneys to connect to. And she basically equipped me for everything that my firm would become. She gave me the pointers of what association to join. She gave me the book that I needed to start studying to learn the laws. She became my go-to, and is still my go-to, and one of my closest friends now, without even meeting. She's all the way in Maryland, but she became my go-to for questions on my cases. She trusted me enough to consult on her cases and kind of kept encouraging me and moving me forward. And so connection with people. And I had a conversation with Christian, and I was telling him that I learned that in Atlanta, that outside of studying and reading and consistently portraying your intelligence, your ability to humble yourself enough to pause and let someone pour into you is one of the greatest assets that I've learned in opening a business. Because a lot of the time, I get hard-headed and I want to do what I want to do, and I don't want to listen to God, and so God forces me to listen to him through someone else. And so my ability to sit and listen and have someone really speak to me, not over me, not speak down to me, but actually speak to me as a peer and pour into me, and not think that. I think the most amazing thing about her was she never once been saying that this law student who didn't have any prior legal experience outside of consulting in a business, which being a legal consultant in a business is more so analyzing how the legal department is set up in the business, how the contracts were effectuated in the business, and I was dealing with Congolese contracts. So it wasn't like I was dealing with American law. So for me to come out of law school, go to another country out of nowhere, practice there, and then come back and just up and decide that I'm gonna open a firm in a field that I've never practiced. And I'm not old enough to remember, because I was very young when my mom was doing our paperwork. She never once told me that was crazy. She was willing to join the crazy roller coaster for what it was, because I think she didn't see me. She saw the calling that was pouring out of me, even when I didn't see it. And I think that's the good thing about connecting with not only entrepreneurs, but Christian entrepreneurs, or entrepreneurs that are crazy enough to believe in the faith that's pouring out of you, because sometimes it's not you that they see. It's the person that God is actually showing to other people, and you're just still busy seeing yourself. So a lot of what is happening right now with this business is something that I never wanted. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna come up here and tell y'all I wanted to be a business owner. I like security. I like consistency. I like stability. I wanted to work in somebody's business, so I knew I had my paycheck coming, whether I showed up for work or not. And I knew that I had something structured. I took a break during year one. I think 4 or 5 months in, I was like, this is too much. People are calling me. I'm not going out. It was COVID, but I'm naturally not an outgoing person, but I wasn't breathing. I was living. And then I also had to open a virtual firm. So I was sitting in my bed, like on the computer, typing all the time. My passion was overtaking my business sense. So I was doing a lot of free work. And I was tired. So I decided, okay, well, this was cute, but I'm going to go apply for some jobs. I applied for, I think, every law firm in Atlanta. And even the best interviews that I got were turned down. And it was probably the hardest moment for me personally because I don't like to feel like I failed. And it was starting to feel like I failed. It was starting to feel like I have a very large family. So I had 40 people show up to my graduation in law school, and everybody was screaming that they were related to a lawyer. And then I got real unemployed real fast. So it just kind of, the roller coaster just kind of happened real quickly. And it was hard to explain why God would have me graduate, have me pass, honor my family in front of all these people, only to be sitting on my bed unemployed. So it was a very tumultuous time in trying to figure out exactly how to work into building this business. After a while, I was able to I had a friend, I wasn't able to, I had a friend come tell me to just stop applying and that whatever work I was supposed to do would come to me. There was this one job that was a 6-figure job. It was just amazing. It was the exact type of immigration law I wanted to do. The interview went amazing. The owner of the firm actually did what I did, which is just jump out of law school. She did corporate law, but then she out of nowhere decided to do immigration law and was completely self-taught. It was a perfect interview. She was like, okay, well, I'm going to go back, and it was a family-owned firm. She was like, I'll go back and talk to my husband and I'll come back. She came back an hour later and basically said, we can't hire you for the top position that we were advertising for because you're self-taught and we need somebody whose background we can trace. And I was like, okay. And so she was like, so I'm going to go back to my husband and see if we can find another position that's maybe a little bit lower in pay, but, get you're in the door and then you can grow. And then the husband said that I think it was a job hunter that actually found that job for me. She found another job and went and told that other job, she'll take anything. And I think that was probably, if I had to pick rock bottom in my entrepreneurial life, that was that moment. To have someone who was watching me and seeing my accolades, who had seen my resume, who had heard me speak, tell someone that I will accept anything. And I think that was a moment where God came to me and was, or not even came to me, but I would say took over me and made me stand up for myself and say, absolutely not. Because before that, I would have taken it because I would have been like, I get what you mean. But I had seen myself win cases that I was not supposed to win because I read one book. I'd seen myself show up and advocate for people who really wouldn't have made it out but for my presence, and I use that loosely because it wasn't me, right? So I'd seen how God could use me when I allowed myself to be used. And so I refused that, and I was like, okay, well, let's try this whole entrepreneurship thing again. By the time I did my reports for the end of the year 2021, God sees my heart, I think I was maybe $5 to $6 shy of the advertised salary for that job. And it was all my money. I didn't have to pay no taxes on it. It was my money from my firm with my name on it. And I think that was the testimony to me of like, okay, maybe this is something that we need to move forward. So step one in my entrepreneurial journey was watching God consistently push me, I will even say bully me into situations that I didn't want to be in order to excel. And sometimes I had to stop and realize that it wasn't about me. I was having people from Twitter write me randomly, having dreams about me going to advocate for them. And not knowing that I'm a lawyer. And I'm like, God, I'm really ignoring you. You keep trying me, but I'm ignoring. But he kept bullying me into certain positions, and then excelling and showing himself to be present in those situations. That was year one. Year one was fantastic. Brought in a lot of money. It was real cute. Year two, it dried up. And that's when God kind of shifted into, I showed you what I can do. Now I need you to work. And that's where I'm at now. From understanding the vision, or even understanding a bit of the vision, and understanding and accepting that the plan that I had for my life, which was work for a firm, work for a business, consult, do this, do that, wasn't what God wanted to do in my life. I never wanted to do immigration law. I said it out of my mouth in law school. I never wanted to do family law. I don't like to be in people's business. I don't like people telling me their problems and emotions. And that's what I deal with on a daily basis, because I'm dealing with people that are fighting for their lives to stay in America. I'm dealing with couples that are together, you petition, and then all of a sudden your significant other doesn't want to petition for you anymore. I'm dealing with people who came here to study, and then they're excelling and life is moving forward in America, and they don't want to go back because they know the life that they're going back to at home. Every day, I'm being poured into people's problems. And that's something that I most definitely did not want. I like dealing in paper, I like computers, I like words, I like typing, and that's it. And so it really was accepting that everything I wanted for myself was not necessarily what God wanted to use me to serve his people. Year two was me shifting from, oh my gosh, God blessed me with like making ends meet in 2020 to this is supposed to be a business. So where I'm at now is actually operating my business as a business, showing up as a business. When I'm meeting someone, and sometimes it's very hard because your emotions take over, but presenting yourself as a business because you've now understood what God poured into you to pour into other people. You've now understood that if you show up as this person, this is how they're going to respect you, but it's also how they're going to respect the business that God poured into you. If you showed up as you, a lot of these times at these interviews or with these clients, I want to show up as me. And if I show up, it always goes left. But if I stop showing up as me and I undertake and I understand that this is a client that I'm supposed to give 1,000% to, not because I want to, not because I don't like sleep, not because I just want to sit here and succeed for no reason, but because this person is meant to stay in America, or this person is at least meant to have the chance to stay in America, and God chose me to do it. I will never understand why somebody, the amount of money some of these people pay me to advocate for them, because I really just picked up a book and read. But they see in me what I don't see in myself. And that was something I quickly learned. My price skyrocketed after I did that. Your clients know your value more than you do. You will always think that the knowledge that you have and the way that you move about the world is how everybody else does. That the way your brain functions is how everybody else's brain functions, when in actuality, you're necessary because it's not. I thought that everybody could just pick up a book and understand law as it's written, but in actuality, it's not. And that includes my lawyer friends. And when I have two of my best friends are lawyers, and when I look into the type of law fields that they do, I can't do it. I don't understand it how they understand it. I can't be as imaginative as they are. But that doesn't make me any less intelligent. It just makes it not my calling. And it makes me necessary in immigration because I understand what it's like to need to stay here. Not to want to stay here, to need to stay here. I understand what it's like to want to stand up for yourself, growing up with a mother that came here and had to learn the language. I understand what it's like for her to want to stand up for herself in the workplace and not be able to formulate the words in English to stand up for herself. I understand what it's like to need an advocate. So when I'm standing in front of a government attorney, or if I'm standing in front of the government and my client is being bullied, my advocacy is a little bit louder than somebody who doesn't know what it's like to not be able to formulate words and stand up for themselves. So how I move and who I am essentially became my product. And it was hard to understand at first because I'm running a law firm from my bedroom. My sister's here. She can tell you guys, it was a laptop, it was a computer, it was a notebook, it was my room. It was me not sleeping. After a while, it was, okay, well, maybe I need a desk. So I set up a desk next to my bed. And it wasn't until I was ready to fully step into the potential that this business could be that I actually took over a room. And what's actually funny is when I used to advertise myself to clients, it used to be, well, I'm a law firm and we're virtual because of COVID. COVID was my excuse to be virtual. Today, me being virtual is my marketing tool. Nobody wants to come see me. Nobody wants to come in the office. I've quickly learned people don't have time to go through traffic and come to you. They're okay with emailing you. We're moving into this new world where people are okay to email you. But at first, people would doubt a law firm that was virtual because of how I presented myself. I made that my excuse. I didn't know how to market it. I took my weakness and I was excusing myself for it. Whereas now, when you contact me, I tell you I'm fully virtual. If you want to have a meeting with me, I'm fully virtual. If you have an absolute emergency and you want to see me, I'll show up. But that's got to be an emergency. And maybe out of, I think I'm at a good 100 and somewhere around 200 clients. 4 clients have turned me down for being virtual. 4. And it's not to say that everybody loves virtual. My clients hate it. They don't even know how to function it. They're barely virtual. I do everything on my side. But they've accepted it because they understand that she believes in it. I became my own business cards. I can go for weeks without advertising and somebody will contact me. And what's been beautiful about the African community in general is somebody will call me and say, hey, so-and-so recommended me to you because they said you're a great attorney. I've never met that person ever in my life. But the confidence that you exude when you talk and the way you present your business and the way you move about the world, the way you advocate, or the way someone hears you advocating for someone else, that's your biggest business card. And in order for that to spread, events like that need to happen. You need to have witnesses. The only reason I was ever able to thrive, there will never be a moment where I will speak about my business without speaking about that young woman, because she's not even older than me. She's like, well, she's older than me, but she's like a couple years older than me. She's not like, it's not some auntie, it's not some mother, it's not somebody, it's just someone who had the training in another law firm and was able to pause, look at me, and believe in my dream with me. I needed some people in stands cheering me on who had won the race that I'm trying to win to inspire me. So networking events and things like these are very, very necessary. Very necessary. Why? Because every time I step into a room, for example, I don't know where he went, but somebody came here to talk about his business with scrubs. I have a lot of family members and family members and friends that are nurses. He doesn't have to be in a room in order to advertise his business. All I have to do is see his product. And I can step in a room and tell my cousin, oh, well, hey, there's a whole African business that's making scrubs that you could probably wear. That's me creating space for everyone. I don't have to be in a room for you to say, hey, there's an African attorney that might understand what you're going through. That's you creating space for everyone. Every time you enter a space and you correctly advertise yourself and you respect the calling that God put not only in you, but in your business, and you understand that it has very little to do with you, especially in service-based businesses. It has very little to do with you and more to do with God, with what God is trying to do in your customer. A lot of my clients, I get a thank you and a God bless you, and I'll never hear from them again, ever. Some of them will leave complaining after the thank you. But 2 weeks later, I will get a call. Hey, so-and-so recommended me to you. And so I've learned that it has very little to do with me and more to do with the fact that God needs this person to stay in America so they can open this business to bless this person. And you're part of a system. You're literally being used. Isn't that fun? Because we hate being used by other people, but God is just out here just using us. Despite our feelings, despite how we feel, despite how tired we get, despite how annoyed we get, despite how broke we get, despite how crazy the dream is, the only thing that keeps me going is to sit there sometimes, because I'm very hard-headed. I will fight God with every tooth and nail. But at one point in time, I'll sit there and I will have to say, This is none of my business. I didn't ask for this. I had a whole plan that I probably could have been real successful at. You wanted this. You wanted this immigration firm. You wanted to continuously expose me to these people that keep calling me and yelling at me for no reason. I get calls at midnight asking me immigration questions. You wanted this. So if this fails, that's your problem, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to run around and tell people that you did this. So if this fails, your name is getting messed up. It's not mine. And the only thing that I can now do in this second season of my business is work. And if I work and I fail, then it's not meant to be. If I work and I thrive, then I'm serving God's kingdom. I'm teaching myself that it's not about me. And in the process of teaching myself that, I'm learning a lot of behavior, and I'm exposing a lot of really bad traits about myself and a lot of really, really good traits about myself. I'm learning to advocate for myself, but I'm also learning that I need to learn how to sit down and listen. And a lot of the time, the people that I need to listen to are my clients. I watch my clients. I see how they move. I see the parts of me that feed into my clients, I look at the fact that I'm a young woman, and a lot of the people that I work with are older people, a lot, especially in Dallas. I grew up in Dallas. Some of my clients are people that literally watched me grow up. It's hard sometimes to tell them, do not do this, and have them listen to you. And so at some points, I had to put my foot down and say, okay, this is how I want to present myself. This is how I want to conduct my business. But a small example is, I had one of my friends tell me, I need to break the system of when I'm speaking to an older person, especially in the African community, calling them maman, papa, because I'm a businesswoman, I'm their attorney, they're not my maman, they're not my papa. I refused to do that. There is a way that I can gain respect. If you choose to respect me, you can. If you don't, your deposit is non-refundable, babe. But if you choose to respect me, you can. But I have to also honor where I'm from. I'm not an African business, but I am an African woman that is running a business. So when I enter a space, I have to honor my culture. And in my culture, in my mother's household and my father's household, there's no way I'm looking at any grown person and calling them by their first name. I don't care what degree I have. I don't care what services you're requiring from me. I will still honor my culture as I present myself to you. My work ethic will be universal. I will not work as an African, I will not work as an American, because I don't think it's a compliment to work as an American or work as an African. My work ethic is universal. My presence will always be African. I will honor how I enter a space. There's a reason why I'm an African attorney. I'm not an African business, I'm a business. My business has no nationality. I am an African woman running a business. I present myself in front of certain people will always have to reflect that. And that's a big marketing tool, a big marketing tool. The fact that you're able to understand certain aspects of things. When some people come talk to me about asylum claims, I'll read the claim and I'm like, I know what you're talking about, so let's dig deeper into that. Where maybe an American attorney who has all of the legal knowledge in the world will have to take your claim at face value because they don't know the history that's going on in Africa. They're not connected to the struggle. They don't have family that's calling them, asking them for $20 to pay rent. They don't understand certain realities, which is perfectly normal because African families will not understand certain realities of African American or American families. So you have your marketing tool. I am never in competition with anyone because nobody has me but my firm. And the moment I leave my firm and I join another firm, that's when I become my competition. I've learned, and I'm still learning, that I am my biggest tool. And outside of me being my biggest tool, the moments when I get a little bit of wisdom and I decide to shut up and sit down and listen to God, things are outlined for me. And things actually line up. I was watching a preaching that said something to the effect of, your obedience lets out a call of order. All you have to do is say yes. And it sounds easy, but it's not. All you have to do is just align. And when you align, everything else falls before you. And so it's not necessarily about the amount of work. I've had a lot of struggles in my entrepreneurship. Having clients has not been one of them. And that should have been my number one problem because, again, I've never worked under a law firm. I've never been taught by another attorney. I had someone that is my peer pause and consult. And within a month or two, I was consulting on her cases. And it was an equal footing. Clientele should have been a problem, but it wasn't because this business was supposed to exist. All of the issues surrounding my firm have to do with me, my work ethic, my confidence, my consistency, my stamina. I'm constantly being tried through this business. And every time I try to do it myself, I'm proven wrong. I start pulling all-nighters, my family's worried, I'm not sleeping, I look like I've been fighting with the world. But once I let go and I understand that, okay, maybe I'm just meant to just relax, it happens. So my journey in entrepreneurship, to wrap up this long rant, is letting go. And I say that as I'm still actively learning how to let go. But you can't just let go because you want to let go. You're going to have to let go and understand what you're letting go to. Because a lot of the things that you're going to start doing have to feed into the entrepreneurship that you're trying to build. So you can't just decide that, okay, you know what, I'm going to let go and let God, and I'm going to sit at home. That's not how that works. I'm going to let go and let God, and I'm going to sign this contract after having read it. I'm going to let go and let God, and I'm going to post this content. Because that's how I started, right? I just shared something. I'm going to let go and let God, and I'm going to post this content. I'm going to let go and let God, and I'm going to advertise this. But I'm also going to lead a life that's conducive to what I'm advertising, meaning I'm not going to advertise this today, and then tomorrow advertise something else, and then the next day advertise something else. And another part of letting go of letting God is also, as you are actively believing God to do the now, you're also creating space and opening up a tent for your future. A lot of what God has tried on my side has been dealing with difficult cases, going through times where maybe money's dried up a little bit, and understanding that God is just giving you time to finish up what you're working on because there's more clients that are coming. And those cases are more difficult. But imagine believing God for the future when your present is dry. Very Noah about this situation. Imagine building an ark and you have never experienced rain. But that's a lot of what happens in my business. And it's a lot of what happens in a lot of people's businesses when they're open and sharing it. I will never be able to enter a space and tell people solely about the successes of my business because every single success in my business is in spite of me. Every single. If I start working, if I start showing up when I talk to my clients, if I talk to them as me, it's an issue because sometimes I get frustrated, but then I have to remember this is this person's real life. I was running late today and I rushed out the house and there was a client that absolutely needed to see me. And I was like, this is gonna throw off my whole schedule. She just wants to sign her papers early, but I was like, it's fine, you've driven 45 minutes, I'll accommodate you. I went to go meet her, and what she said to me, I can honestly say actually shifted what I was going to talk about today. Because it reminded me that a lot of the parameters and the pillars that we set up for our business, if we forget the purpose behind your business, and you forget that you're actually meant to change people's lives, you lose track of that. Because then you have somebody that just wanted to apply for a green card, and now she's telling you about how she's scared for her life and she's hiding. And you have somebody that's telling you, well, I was supposed to, be having my interview, but now I can't do that because I'm scared to be in the same room with my significant other. So what do you do then? Because I had to hurry up to get to my cousin's house to go pick up something and then go to my cousin. That was my Saturday. But a client had to quickly remind me that, excuse me, hi, your degree is meant to help me. And now I'm bringing you an actual problem. I approached you for something that was as simple as filling out 60 pages, but now I'm coming to you telling you my life is in danger. What are you gonna do about it? How do you show up? Because you're so busy, you got the money now. You got the title now. You're going to speak as an attorney. My life is in danger. What are you gonna do? And that's how often God will sometimes remind you why you're doing it. There was a split second when I had to ask myself, how does God show, what's the point of this? What's the point of my firm? And every time somebody's life is changed because they get to stay in America, every time, especially women, every time a woman gets to thrive because she was able to connect to whatever it is that God has inside of me to remain in this country and thrive, that is a blessing. It's a seed that I may not get to see, my kids may not get, somebody gonna see. It's a seed. Because my obedience has now created way for her obedience to create way for somebody else's obedience. You've unleashed a chain that's benefiting to the kingdom. So if I had to give one advice as far as my entrepreneurship journey, it's a question that I'm still actively trying to figure out and that I always have to stop and remind myself of. It's, what's the point of this? What are you trying to accomplish? What's the answer? What's the question you're answering? Is something that's we're often said, right? You're creating the solution to a problem. What's the problem? But not just a literal problem. What's the spiritual problem? How does God get glorified through this? Or do I just get to stand there and yell for 50 minutes that I am an attorney? How does God get glorified through this? That's my advice. Outside of that, I do immigration. I edit contracts. So if you guys have questions about that, that would be it. But yeah, that's all I had to say. I don't know if anybody has questions.
Can we clap for her, please? Can we clap for her? Wow, wow, wow. We learned something today. Can we clap for her? Wow, wow, wow. When she was speaking, few words, I was like, wow, wow. The first thing is see what I can do for you, now work. We remember that. Yeah, see what I can do for you, and now work. And the second thing is about reputation. People call you because they recommend. They recommend somebody to. So reputation is a key. That's what I learned. Even if we know it, but we don't sometimes pay attention to that, right? No matter who you have a reputation. Am I wrong? If you say, hey, Christian, do you know Christian? Oh, that guy, I don't like him. That's your reputation. You want it or no, that's your reputation. You say, hey, do you know Nicole? That lady that lies a lot? Oh, that's your reputation. No, that's true. And having people, saying, hey, I'm calling you because somebody said you are a good attorney or a lawyer, it's about reputation. So we have to keep that in mind when we do our business. Our reputation is our business card. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for anybody has questions? It's the time for questions now. Yeah, the microphone. Yeah, come, Mr. Marc-Alain.
Hey everybody, first of all, apologies for the noise that I was making in the background while she was speaking. If I distracted you, we just wanted to make sure that we have a recording and we can watch it later and remember all these great lessons that we learned here. Thank you so much for sharing your history. The first thing that I heard you when you started speaking, you say, going from getting a law degree to being unemployed. To me, that I can't do that math in my head, right? Because every time these assumptions, being an immigrant myself, when I see someone going to law school, it's big bucks. I cannot imagine having someone with a law degree and not having a job. What was that experience like for you, and how did you recover from that? The second question, if you don't mind, hopefully you won't forget the first one. The second one is, you went into entrepreneurship not because you wanted. I would like to say God imposed it on you. And one thing about entrepreneurship is a lot of discipline, a lot of routine that you have to keep up with. How do you go about developing that consistency and the discipline to do your job the way you're supposed to do it? And maybe have a schedule like, okay, I'm an entrepreneur, but I still have working hours. It's not 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning. I work from 8 to 9. And how do you keep up with a balance in between your job and everything else you do in life?
Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you for your question. So the first question, how I went through having a law degree to unemployment and how I grew from that. I'm still growing from it because I'm still acknowledging the fact that I have my own business. And if I decide to stop today, I can't pay my bills. So I'm still unlearning the concept that I'm unemployed and just making ends meet or hustling and doing this business. So I would say I'm still growing from that. How it felt is, thankfully, I have a very crazy family that believes in crazy dreams. So there wasn't a single moment where someone came to me, and I was the only person asking myself that question. How do you have a law degree and you're unemployed? Outside of that, actually, my family was the one that was pushing me into, you need to do a live, you need to post this, you need to do this. My friends were the people that were telling me, it doesn't make sense that you wouldn't push yourself into immigration. You should show up to this courtroom. You should do this. I had my first live, I had my first courtroom that I was supposed to show up in. And that's when that random person from Twitter, who's now become a good friend, was like, hey, I need your phone number. I had a dream about you. And she had a dream that I was advocating for her in like some African country that she couldn't get into. And I was like, boom, I'm about to show up to this court case and I am going to tear it up. I showed up to the wrong city. I could not get a hold of my client. I started filing emergency motions. I got embarrassed by the judge. It was the most traumatizing experience. But I remember being able to call that same lawyer that was helping me out, and the first thing she told me was, it's never going to be as hard as that. For some reason, God gave you the hardest part first, and it got easier. And I've never gotten a judge or an interviewer since then that's been harder than that first judge. So I had to slowly see God show up. And the blessing that I had my first year, 2020, as unconventional as it seems because we lost a lot of people and it was a really bad pandemic, was one of the best years of my life personally for personal growth. God allowed me to kind of kick back, and it was other people that were coming to me saying, hey, see, God just did this for you. Things were just lining up. It very much was a year where God was saying, I'm going to do this and show you I can do it, whether you want to do it or not. So I think my experience in that was a little bit more cozy because God allowed it to be. But as far as understanding, that's what I'm talking about accepting that I now own a business, that, I'm gonna be a little extreme, but Chase Bank and I are the same thing. That, like, really understanding that I have a business and I'm a business owner and I'm no longer unemployed because I've employed myself. So I'm kind of moving into learning that. As far as discipline, if we're being transparent and this is a safe space, I have horrible discipline. As far as working, I'm the person that I used to run track. My family will deny it, but I used to run track in high school. And my coach always told me, I ran long distance, and my coach always told me I had a real bad habit of, I have a good last kick, but right when I'm about to cross the finish line, I start jogging because I'm almost done. And he told me that's how you're going to live your life if you don't change. You're going to see the end and just start jogging through when you're supposed to run past because someone might run past you. And oddly enough, that's something I started noticing in my adult years. I will wait. I like to say that I don't have 12-hour days, I have 24-hour days. So if I have something that's due tomorrow, I'm telling myself I have 24 hours to do it. And my family is witness, I will use every last one of those 24 hours. I will pull a full all-nighter and not sleep and produce. But then I had to learn that I'm getting a little old. I'm not 18 anymore. My body's tired. And so I can't keep pulling these all-nighters and doing things last minute. And even then, I learned that even that was an excuse I was giving myself. Because if you're kicking in last minute, and you're doing things like, oh, let me hurry up and meet this deadline, if you fail, you now have given yourself the excuse that I did this last minute, I just threw it together. Imagine now taking your time and putting together a case in a whole span of a month and producing it, and then you fail, and you tell yourself, well, I tried my best and I failed. That's something that's harder to eat than I gave half and I failed. And so I had to start teaching myself in little things. So I had my pastor that taught me that I can only grow if I move in micro habits. So it had to be as small as a morning routine. I hate my morning routine disturbed. I now wake up at 4:30 so that I don't have to interact with anyone that will disturb my morning routine until they wake up. And that's something that I had to impose on myself because I quickly understood that if you mess up my morning, you mess up my day. So I now wake up at 4:30. I know that at 4:30, I need to do this and this and this and this. I know that if I turn on Real Housewives of Atlanta, my day is gone because I'm going to keep watching shows throughout the day. So I had to be careful what I fed into myself in the morning, and I had to watch myself at literal minutes. Like I had to set alarms that at this time you do this, at this time you do this. And then after a while, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you start getting uncomfortable if you don't do this and this and this at this time. Was I consistent in it? No. Did it have to keep shifting as my client base grew? Yes. But now it's more so, again, going back to it's not about me. So today was a reminder that's going to shift my consistency again because I'm rushing to go run errands so I can come here and look good in front of y'all and tell y'all I'm an attorney while I have a client that's in actual dire need for her life that needs me to pause and cater to her about the very thing that I'm coming to talk to you about. Discipline. Had I done everything I was supposed to do today before, I would have been able to accommodate her and still make it here on time. So I'm still learning. It would be the answer to your question, but it's always shifting because the tempo moves quicker sometimes than it needs to.
Wow. Thank you. I have a question for you. As a Christian entrepreneur, and when you go through like tough times, it can happen. Mm-hmm. What scripture do you lean on? You say that, okay, when I read this, it gives me strength, or it can give me, solutions sometimes.
There's a lady there that's trying to look like me. That's my sister. Okay. I had a really bad day in law school once, really bad day, and I think it was one of the only days that I actually called my family like crying, and I was like, I don't want to do this. And she texted me Exodus 14:14. You need only be still, the Lord will fight for you. So that's the one that I've remembered, and that's the one that kind of will ring in my mind. But it's not my favorite Bible verse, it's hers. But I stand on it, so that would be the one.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
I have a question. You made the statement, my clients know my value more than I do. Can you expound on that?
Oh yeah, I love my clients, but clients are scammers. I had to learn that and accept that. Like they will go talk to one attorney. Perfect example, my consultation per hour now is $170. When I started, it was $50. And with $50, I would have the consultation with you for an hour. Then I would write down everything we talked about. Then I would write out what's called your immigration plan. And I give you all the forms that you need to do because the goal was for you to be able to do it by yourself. So I would spend all night earning that $50 and giving it to you, while they know that they can't even get 5 minutes with another attorney without paying $200. And what was even more hurtful when I used to take it personally is you will tell them 50 and they will hackle you down to 25, knowing that they can't get any other attorney for that. I did my first forms, 2 forms that I filed for less than $500. Those same forms today, per form, it's $1,000. But I still had clients negotiating those prices down. Why? Because they realized, oh, you actually don't know what other people are charging in the market. So what I now started doing is being patient with money. I wasn't in a hurry to have a client on my phone asking me, how much do you charge for this type of green card, and telling them I charge this amount because I don't bill hourly. So for me, I wasn't in a hurry to be like, I charge this amount and this is how much you're going to give me. No, I took the time to say, okay, well, let's talk about your case. Do you owe taxes? Are you married? Have you been divorced? Where's your divorce decree? You adopted a child, show me your adoption case. And then telling you, okay, well, I'm gonna sit on this and I'm gonna analyze it, and then what I'll do is I'll shoot you over an estimate. And when I sit on it, what that means is I hop on Google and I go look at other law firms and see what they charge. And then I look at the forms that I need to fill out for you. And then I put all of that together and think about the time that I'm gonna need to allocate. And then I also take you in as a client. Some clients are wonderful. They leave you alone. They understand that you can't speed up the US government any more than they can. Some clients will call you every day and they will harass you. and you have to understand where they're coming from. So I will compensate myself for that. So that when you do harass me, I already know that your price is accommodating to that. I've already charged you for the harassment that I don't need to bill you anymore. You're paying me for it, so I'll eat it. So I quickly learned that when they go to someone else, they're getting bills that are $6,000, $7,000, because I'm still not secure enough to bill the price that other people are billing. And I still acknowledge that I'm self-taught. So until I have a certain amount of W's under my belt, I'm not gonna move like any other attorney. So I still accommodate that, but they're paying 3 times what you're charging, but they're coming to you acting like what you're charging is expensive because you think it's expensive, and you're showing to them that you think it's expensive. So you're billing someone $3,000 and you're telling them it's $3,000 because, no, it's $3,000 because the sky is blue, and I have said that it's $3,000. And that's the price I'm setting it at. And if you don't move, even with payment plans, I've learned that. If you don't offer a payment plan, they will pay up front. If you start talking about payment plans and accommodating and doing all of that, they will. I used to give refunds like hotcakes. You make one complaint, I refund. But I quickly understood some attorneys will be so confident in their work that you could complain, go to the White House. I have sufficient paperwork sitting on my desk showing that I have poured out every ounce of my knowledge into your case, and I earned this money. So they know what they can get away with you. You have to now have that confidence because, again, they see what got poured into you. You have to see it now, right?
Thank you for that. Any other questions?
J'ai une question. D'abord, je suis très fier parce que tu es une jeune congolaise.
We do that in English for people who
Yeah,
don't
first
speak
of all,
French?
I'm very proud because you're a Congolese, a young lady.
Parce que je me dis,
Because I said to
ça
myself,
demande beaucoup.
it requires a lot.
Pour devenir ce que tu es devenu.
It requires a lot to become who you
Voilà, la
become.
question elle est la suivante.
The question is,
Étant africaine et originaire de l'Afrique,
being African and
as-tu
coming
un
from
programme
Africa,
particulier
do you have a
pour tes
program
frères et sœurs qui sont en Amérique,
to help your brothers and sisters in America
qui ont des difficultés en rapport avec l'immigration?
that have difficulties with
Mais
immigration?
également, nous connaissons cette vague de gens qui viennent de pays comme Mexique et tout.
But also equally we know
Ouais.
the wave of people that are coming from Mexico that have the same issues.
Un programme dans le sens où tu aides et tout. Je suis souvent
Do you have a program
deux fois
where you help?
un jeune Congolais.
I usually listen to a young Congolese
Il a une chaîne YouTube.
who has a YouTube channel
Je crois que peut-être beaucoup de gens le connaissent.
that a lot of people may know
Il
him.
n'est pas professionnel comme toi,
He's not as
mais
professional
je
as
le
you are,
vois tenter d'aider les Africains.
but I see him
pour
tempted
l'immigration.
helping the African.
Mais de surcroît,
regard
je
to
me dis
immigration.
quelqu'un comme toi que tu maîtrises.
And I'm saying to
Ça,
myself,
c'est pas
someone
grave.
like you who
Ne
masters,
t'endurerais pas de faire quelque chose de la sorte.
why would you try to do something
Parce
of
que
that nature?
à côté aussi, je crois qu'elle doit être une Jamaïcaine.
Because
une
besides, I
Américaine,
also see a
je sais pas.
Jamaican, maybe an
Elle
American.
elle a une chaîne YouTube où
She has
elle
a
parle
YouTube channel
de tout ce qui est immigration.
where she talks about
Et
everything that's
c'est
immigration,
vraiment, ça aide beaucoup.
and it helps a lot.
Et toi,
And you,
étant donné que tu connais un peu la mentalité africaine, tu connais vraiment nos réalités.
knowing as much as you know about the African
Conseillerais-tu pas de
mentality
créer
and
quelque
our
chose comme
realities,
ça à côté de ton business?
would you try to think about creating something like that besides your business?
Yes. Yes. So I am my marketing tool is education. I still stand by the fact that if you don't have to pay me for it, like I won't charge you. So I have a free 10-minute consultation. I have to put it at 10 minutes to protect myself. I have never done 10 minutes on one of those consultations But I have to put it at 10 minutes. Why? Because if I don't, again, your customer knows you better than you. So what they're going to do is they're going to take that and run with it. And as much passion as I have, I can't pay AT&T with passion. So I still have to bill. Now, outside of that, the work that I do when I show up, because what I have to say, and I stand by this, it is false that Africans don't support each other. Do we have issues? Yes. Do we talk about each other sometimes? Yes. Do certain people mess up our image? Yes. But it is absolutely false. The first people that welcomed me were Africans. The first people that opened their doors to me and were willing to putting your immigration case in somebody's hands is not a joke. The first people that were willing to put their cases into my hands were Congolese people. And they opened doors and they recommended, based on people whose names, like I said, people whose names I never knew, testified about me. And I know for a fact they were never my clients. I can't ever confirm or deny a client list, but I know for a fact I've never heard that name. But somebody will call and say, oh yeah, they said that you do a really good job. So I do cater to Africans and I do cater to Congolese people in what my prices are never set. But what I can't do, again, I have to honor my business. What I can't do is accommodate your price and tell you, I'm giving you $2,500. And then you go tell your friend that it's $2,500, not knowing that I gave you $2,500 because when we spoke, you told me about how you're supporting your whole family back home. That's one of the reasons why I don't have set prices. Again, it's to accommodate the complicated client, but it's also to accommodate the client that just can't make it. Now, what I also learned is that I'm too new to be the business that fully helps. Perfect example. I'm not hiring not a single intern. I can't. I'm too new to teach to someone. I can teach by being, but I am not seasoned enough to pour into someone. I need someone that's going to match my stamina. And when I was an intern, I didn't match the stamina of the people that I was interning. They had to teach me to match it. They had to take the time to sit and pour into me. I don't have the time to sit and pour into someone. Does that mean if somebody calls me one-on-one and they want advice, I'm not gonna pick? Of course I'm gonna pick up. My business is built on someone picking up her phone. But do I have the time to hire an intern? No. Do I have the time to sit here and say, I'm going to take 50 Congolese clients that are pro bono? No, I won't lie to you, I don't. I can't. I'm one attorney that's working on multiple people's lives, and I was raised to believe that money is the blood and sweat of someone. You respect people's money. I have to respect the investment they made in me. I have to pour out everything I have in these clients that hired me. But you set up an event and you want me to talk to Congolese people and you want me to spread the knowledge that I have, I'll do it. Oh, well, African in general. You set up an event, and not just Africans, in general, because immigration is vast and immigration encompasses a lot of people. And if you step into an immigration office and you see how some of these people talk to these immigrants, to these people who have the right to migrate because they're human beings, but because we're so entitled to people's earth, we've decided that we're just gonna be rude to people, you develop a sense of this is a human right. You are allowed to go where you please on this earth because this earth doesn't belong to man, it belongs to God. That's my sole belief. You set up an event and you want me to show up, it might take a while if you ask Christian for me to figure out a schedule and set it down, but I will show up and I will pour out what I have because I can do this in general. But it would be a disservice for me to say that I can pour out into each person individually because I'm not that full yet. And I have to acknowledge that. And it's a humbling experience acknowledging that, but I'm not full enough to teach yet.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Can we clap for this answer, please? Other questions? Any other questions? You have another question? Yeah, sure.
You talked a lot about growth and personal development. How do you go about that? Are you only growing in the books of laws and stuff like that, or do you have some other books that you read out there, some other TV shows that you watch that help you to grow and develop yourself as a person?
I got really bad about reading when I started having to read. I used to be really good about reading, and then I started law school, and when you have to read, you lose the love of reading. So I actually forced a couple of my friends back into a book club, and I'm reading a book now called Atomic Habits with my friends, and it's actually a really good book. But I'm trying to teach myself to reread again. My personal growth, I think, I went to therapy. There was therapy. And then outside of therapy, I have a family and friends. I have family and friends that do not allow me to get too comfortable in who I am. Accountability is a big thing in my I call them my tribe, my village, right? The people that are around me, my community. They hold me accountable. And then outside of that, one thing that I have actually been pretty good at is I watch a sermon every morning. Every morning I see something that is poured into me that I'm able to reflect it. Now, when I say every morning, it's not literally every morning, but majority of mornings, I'm watching a sermon in the morning. Whether I'm paying attention to it or not, you can hear it pour into you. Those are things that were able to feed into me so that I was able to respect them. But specifically to me, I'm a trial and error kind of person. I learned my lesson. I feel really bad about something. I might have to learn the lesson 2-3 times, but I never want to have the feeling that I had last time. So sometimes what will happen is I will be put in a situation where I will fail miserably, and I'm very hard on myself. And because I failed miserably, I will never want to have that feeling again, so I'll construct ways to grow out of that. So I think my growing pattern is very much trial and error. It's also, I love quotes, so I will definitely read quotes and try to apply them to my life. And then I would say the sermons. Prayerfully, if you ask me this question next year, books. But for right now, it's really quotes, sermons, and then the accountability of my village.
Thank you very much. Thank you. One more question? You don't have questions? Okay, good. So we're gonna start. Can we clap for her, please? And thank you very much for this great time we spent. Who liked it? Can we clap for her again? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Deborah, for your time. Thank you for sharing all this experience, humbling experience, I think. And next month, we're gonna have an amazing guest speaker. He's gonna talk about his new app. This app is called AfroZone, and our next appointment is gonna be on October 15. So try to put that in your calendar next month here. We're gonna talk about that application that's gonna help us changing our lives and habits and the way we do things, okay? So it's the time for the free networking. Meet other people, talk to other people. We have some refreshment over there. We have some, cocktails and water and meet everyone, okay? Thank you again, thank you.
You